Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, female 31, was married to my high school sweetheart, male 25, from 20 to 25 years old. He was gifted a house by his parents for our wedding, and we moved in together. Unfortunately, he passed away in a fall accident while working as an electrician. It was devastating news for me and his family. Initially, his parents supported me, but after a few months, they started pressuring me to return the house. They claimed it was their inheritance, and I had no right to it. They saw I was young and could start anew elsewhere. I refused to give up the house as it was the only place I had. They became furious, attempted legal actions unsuccessfully, and eventually cut off contact. At 28, I began dating again, and my new partner, male 33, was understanding of my past and respectful of my grief. After 3 years of dating, he proposed, and I accepted. We both want to start a family. I invited him to move in with me, and he agreed, though he initially felt uncomfortable. We shared our engagement on Facebook, announcing the impending formation of a large family. A month later, my deceased husband's parents contacted me, expressing outrage and hurling insults. They accused me of being an ungrateful, disrespectful widow, claiming I was betraying my late husband's memory by bringing another man into their house and having children with him. I was infuriated by their words, telling them they had no say in my life. I explained that I loved my late husband, but had the right to move forward. I hung up and blocked them. Honestly, I think OP should sell the house and start new with her fiancé. For me personally, it would not feel right starting a new relationship in a home my deceased husband's parents gifted. I don't think OP is in the wrong here. I just feel bad for the parents. Also, I don't know why the new guy would want to live there as well. Would you guys? And now let's hear the community's opinion. Mustang says, before you get married, get a prenup or something to protect yourself. You need to move on, so ignore them. And I would say block them, and maybe get a lawyer to send them a no-contact letter. You could also sell the house, yes, painful, and use those funds for a new place. Again, prenup. No prenup, no marriage. No cohabitation agreement, no living together. Inevitable Rhubarb 11 says, not the a-hole. The house was a gift and your husband left it to you. It's your house. You're allowed to find happiness again, and it's good that you have blocked his parents as they aren't going to let this go. Kame the Hero says, I'm going to go against the grain and say you're the a-hole. I know you are both grieving, but that house was meant for their son, you and your children. Sadly, he passed away, but now you're taking advantage of what they essentially gifted for their son. You then twist the knife by moving a partner into the house meant for their son and his family. I think the morally right thing is you accept that you got to live there with no mortgage for what sounds like a decade. Not doing that does make you a selfish a-hole and to be judged for it. But honestly, I do think it's a hard thing to give up. I think my sister needs to get over herself and realize she put herself where she is now. She thinks that I'm insensitive and I should care more about family. So here we go, I guess. My sister and I grew up in a 2-bedroom trailer. Our parents had 5 kids. It was as trashy as it gets. Our family was poor as dirt. Our mom was a waitress and dad worked construction. I told myself I wasn't going to live like that as an adult, that I would make better choices than my parents did. I worked hard in high school and got a full ride to an affordable school. I later went back to school twice to end up becoming a CRNA. I've been one for 3 years. And I married my husband last year. We own a nice house and we live a good life. We're child-free, but we've adopted some elderly cats so they could have a good last few years. My sister did pretty much exactly what our parents did. She got pregnant at 16, kept it despite the fact that A was an option. She's had 5 more kids since then, though the triplets weren't really her fault. For some reason, there's a lot of multiple baby pregnancies in our family history. My sister doesn't work because they can't afford daycare, and her boyfriend, who is the father of just the triplets, works as a bartender at Chili's. They live in a smaller apartment, and they want to move, but have bad credit. Apparently, my sister looked on the yes offender registry, and now she's afraid because a bunch of them live in her neighborhood. She keeps dropping hints to me that she wants me to give her money, saying things like, praying for a miracle that I somehow get the money to move my kids into a better neighborhood. Recently, my husband and I got to take a trip New Year's week. It's been frigid, and going to Ibiza for a week was really refreshing. I posted pictures on my social media so my friends could see, and my nosy coworkers as well, of course. My sister commented that I shouldn't flaunt my life when there are people in my own family struggling to get by. I texted her and told her not to post petty comments on my social media where my coworkers can see, and that if she has something to say, she needs to just say it. She asked me for money, and I said no, and she's all mad at me. I don't understand her thought process. I worked really hard for everything I have. She's made bad choices that left her where she is. Am I the a-hole for posting my life where my sister can see? She is living the consequences of her actions. Sharing your experiences isn't flaunting. She's just jealous. She made her choices, and OP made hers. OP is not obligated to fund her choices. OP is not her personal ATM, and her lashing out at OP because she won't allow herself to be used by her is out of line. She's responsible for her life choices. She is responsible for improving her situation. Anyone who would bankroll her life would just be preventing her from learning how. So, in my opinion, OP could try to help her by giving her emotional support and guiding her to make better choices in life. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Texas Farmer says, block her on your social media. My best friend GH9 says, it amazes me how many people feel entitled to other people's money or things, just because they made bad choices and someone else didn't. But Jesus also told us to help the unfortunate when we can. You can feel sorry for her and help her just this once if you are financially able. I know there is a sister grudge, but she needs help. I can't tell you how many people we have helped over the years. A woman leaving an aggressive marriage, a teen whose parents were killed in an accident, the homeless. We buy food for struggling families. We've paid rent for someone who was not able to make enough. I'm not saying this to brag. I don't want any praise. I say it to remind you that not everyone is as lucky as you are. They made some bad decisions when they were young. Can you afford to help her without putting yourself in financial trouble? If you answer yes, I beg you to reconsider helping her. You can stipulate it is this one time only. Meef1234 says, not the a-hole. She is a low IQ moron who made horrible choices. She is living the life she chose for herself. No one forced any of this on her. Misery loves company, and she wants to drag you into her misery because she is mad you made the right choices. She can F off. You know the saying about straws and camels. Well, this is the one that broke mine. We've been married for 3 years and together for 7. We've been having marital issues for the past year, and there's a lot of lows and very few highs. I found out I was pregnant in December of 2022. When I was about 4 months along, we ended up moving closer to our families, which happens to be his hometown. He knows everyone, and therefore when we moved back here, he ended up catching up with all his buddies every weekend, and some days during the week, and would stay out until 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. whenever he did. And then he would come home drunk and expect to be entertained by me because he wasn't ready to sleep yet. It caused massive issues, and I still can't look at him the same. Our daughter is now 3 months old, and up until last month, he was still going out and partying all hours at least once a weekend, though he stopped going out during the week. I ended up threatening divorce at that point and haven't worn my ring since. But he got better, actively tried. He hasn't been out once since that point and has been essentially kissing my butt when it comes to all else. Like I haven't had to lift a finger 90% of the time to cook or clean because he does it. And despite me seeing the effort and knowing that he's actually trying, I think the damage was already done because I still can't look at him the same after he spent months partying constantly and leaving me alone with a wool pulled over my eyes. Anyways, he's a hypochondriac. So on Friday, he got a headache randomly, and it threw him into a panic attack, and he kept saying he thought it was a heart attack or an aneurysm. He told me I had to drive him to the hospital. I told him no, and he needs to call an ambulance, because not only was the snow coming down thick outdoors, and I didn't feel safe driving with our daughter in the vehicle, but his truck is also a piece of crap, and half the time when you're driving it, it says low power, and stops working properly. As soon as I gave my reasoning, he snapped. He screamed at me to bring him to the hospital now and to stop being a selfish a-hole. I could be having a ducking heart attack, and you're giving me excuses why I don't care. So I drove him. It took me 40 minutes to get there. It's 15 minutes away. And when we did get there, I dropped him at the entrance to the ER, parked, grabbed my daughter, and started walking. He yelled from the door to ask what I was doing. I told him I'm leaving. He said, "Let me call my mom to come get you guys." I said, "I'm not getting in the vehicle with you or her actually. Do not call her, because I will not go with her." I started walking to the library, maybe a quarter mile, all sidewalks. Well, his mom shows up and stops beside me and says, "Get in." I told her no, and made it clear that I had told him not to call her. She said, "I said get in. You're being childish right now." So I kept walking, went to the library, called my mom and had her come get me, and filed for divorce the same day. He was served the following morning. I'm being called every name under the sun by his mother because he could have ducking died, and you're more concerned with having to drive him to the hospital. You're selfish and don't deserve my son or his daughter. She does know he was partying excessively, but she's a 50s woman and says, well, he was working and deserved the breaks. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, he was fine. It was neither a heart attack nor an aneurysm. It was dehydration. Well, to me he sounds selfish and bad to live with. I'm sure he was dehydrated. He spent months drinking like a fish and acting like he's in high school. OP is better off realizing now that he's not the man she needs in her life. It's not good OP brought a kid into all this mess. Now she will have to deal with him for the rest of her life, as children tie people together, whether you want it or not. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Reading 16 says, if he was having a heart attack, then having the ambulance crew take him would have been the safest thing for him. They could have started treatment as soon as they got to your house. It also wouldn't have run the risk of you being a distracted driver if he started having problems next to you while you were driving. Edited to add, not the a-hole. Scorvia says, not the a-hole. Your husband left you alone with a 3-month-old baby while he went out partying? Gather all the evidence of that. It will help you in court. Same with everything about his hypochondria. Nearby Weekend 908 says, you're fine. The audacity to not make your newborn a top priority would have been enough for me to make that decision. Anyways, he sounds like an idiot. The heart racing part of this, where he thought he was having a heart attack, was actually an anxiety attack because he was dehydrated and malnourished. Tell him to grow up and take care of himself. His mom is an idiot also. So I know it might be a bit stupid, but it's important to me. It is currently an argument with my family. I, 25 female, had a prom in 2017, and I bought my entire prom outfit for myself due to my family not having the best economy, and I saved for over a year to be able to buy my dream dress and jewelry. Everything in total about $300, which is a lot for us. I had an amazing time, and that dress is very important to me since I've never had the best self-confidence, and it made me feel beautiful. Now my sister, 18 female, let's call her Annie, is having her prom later this year, and she asked if she could use my dress as well. She loves it and wished to use it. I told her that I would prefer if she didn't, since it is so important to me. I also have a neuro disorder, and it makes it hard for me to let other people use my things. And she said okay, and said she at least wanted to ask. But she was fine with finding another dress, and I said I'd help her pay if she wanted. And if she wanted, she was welcome to use the jewelry. She will never wear the hair accessories. I'm pretty stable in income. Annie thanked me and said we could go shopping together. Now, I live about 3 hours away from my family due to school, and I don't go home often due to not having a car. I came home last week to visit as my nephews, cousin's kids, she's like a sister, are getting baptized. When I walk through the front door to my parents' house, Annie is wearing my prom dress, and my grandma and mom are taking measurements. I asked them what they are doing, and they said that I'm being an a-hole for not letting Annie use it. She is my baby sister after all, mom's words. I got upset and screamed at Annie to take it off, which I later apologized for. She believed I changed my mind since mom said I had agreed. I yelled at my mom and grandma because they tried to go behind my back and even changed the dress to better fit Annie. She is 155 pounds. I was almost 300 pounds when I wore it. I cried and yelled at them. As soon as Annie came back with my dress, I took it and packed it down, saying I'd stay with my cousin. Now my family is torn. Some people agreeing with me, and some saying I'm an a-hole for not letting Annie use it. I don't feel like I was in the wrong for not letting her use it. After all, it was all my dress that I paid for, and I even offered to pay for her dress. So am I the a-hole? Aggressive Cup says, if they are cutting up the dress to fit Annie's frame, then you're not letting her use it. You are giving her the dress. I don't see how they can make the dress fit you again after. Not the a-hole. No is a no. Annie can also save for her things. Gamerthon98 says, not the a-hole. Classic case of meddling mom. There was no issue concerning the dress until your mom stuck her nose in and created the problem. Your family needs to respect your belongings and your wishes and boundaries that go along with them. Not only was she disrespecting your boundaries by letting your sister use it, but was also going to completely alter the dress, which would have literally just given your sister the dress and ruined all sentimentality the dress has for you. User Undetected Zero says, "Not the a-hole. They are literally cutting up your dress that you paid for yourself. That's not letting your sister borrow it. That is making it for her and giving it to her. Your mother had no right to let her have your property. Honestly, if I were you, I'd demand that my mother pays me back the sum of the dress, because what they are doing to it is irreversible. Not only that, but why would your sister put it on because your mother said so? It does not belong to her, so she shouldn't have been asked." I'm a stepmom to 3 adult children. My stepson recently got engaged. Before he asked his girlfriend, he came to my husband and I to tell us and showed us the ring. I noticed it was a 90s style yellow gold, kind of gaudy to me, with baguette diamonds and a tiny center diamond. So I asked him where it came from. It was his mother's engagement ring to my now husband. My husband said, "Wow, she kept that? Are you sure you want to use a ring with a bad track record? Wouldn't that be bad luck?" Fast forward to Christmas, and he proposed using that ring. Fast forward to last night, and everyone is at our home having dinner. My future daughter-in-law was wearing a rubber ring, and I asked her about it. She said she wanted to protect it. I looked down at my own ring and said, "Yeah, you'll get over that feeling. I don't think I've taken mine off in years, and stepson's biomom wore it for 8 years, so I don't think you'll damage it. Stepson took it in for inspection and cleaning before giving it to you. I think I have some jewelry cleaning solution you can have if you're worried about it getting dirty." Everyone froze, and stepson's fiancée started crying. She didn't know the ring was from stepson's biomom and my husband's incredibly messy and unfaithful marriage. My husband scolded me. My stepson is angry at me for telling her. I asked if I missed something. Was he never going to tell her? No one told me not to tell her. I agree that wasn't the way for her to find out, but I really don't think I was wrong to talk about it. So am I the a-hole? Wonderful Set says, "Not the a-hole. I think using a parent's wedding ring is fine. However, I think the bride should know. If it was to be a big secret, then the stepson should have told everyone not to say anything. But starting a marriage out on a lie isn't a good way to start." SV Cat says, "So they're mad because you didn't keep a secret that you didn't know you were supposed to keep? Not the a-hole." Bad Puff Tie Kitty says, "I used my mom's engagement ring when I proposed. My girlfriend knew it was my mom's ring. It was a vintage ring. My parents were dead. My wife loved the ring, but it was fragile. Her wedding ring was a gold sheath that fits over her engagement ring. It looks like a sports championship ring when worn together. I also gave her the 10 ring my father actually proposed with. It probably cost my dad 10 pounds. We broke up. My ex returned the ring, telling me to hand it down to my family.